This is long overdue.
Let's get into it. What are we doing today, Amy?
Okay, so I have wanted to do a podcast for a long time, exposing the Trump family. And
Oh, dun,
yes,
You
dun.
mean you mean the active president right now?
oh yeah,
Not Donnie Dingers.
yes, this is long overdue. It's time to put Q to bed. It's time to put this idea that Trump is our president, that he's going to be reinstated to save us. The idea that there are good guys versus bad guys in American politics is just an illusion. And Trump willfully played his part for more fame, notoriety, and business, and to help his friends of the mafia and the American Illuminati. And so in this episode, I'm going to break down how he did it and why. And I'm going to talk about his family. So Trump, before he was president, he was one of the most successful reality TV stars, and he's a billionaire. Trump is a billionaire. Okay, I think the cognitive dissonance going on with Trump, that he's actually a good guy and gives a shit about America, is mind-blowing to me. So today I want to get into the dark side of the Trumps and open people's minds to really think about who the Trump family really is. So let's start.
Gosh, I wonder how many people already got their feelings hurt.
So many. And okay, let's get into Trump's dad, Fred Trump. So the Trump family are descendants of the Drump family, D-R-U-M-P, of Bavaria, Germany. Now, his father, Fred, was a member of the Ku Klux Klan. And when he was young, he was living in Queens, New York. And I have recovered 3 newspaper articles that cited Fred Trump, who was arrested for disorderly conduct at Klan rallies. Okay. Donald Trump has lied and claimed that this never happened, but it did in fact happen. And his father was a member of the Ku Klux Klan. Another thing I found strange about Fred Trump is that he was always invited to the Al Smith charity dinners, which the presidents would host in Washington, D.C. Now, when Trump spoke at the Al Smith charity dinner, he said during his speech that he had been attending the Al Smith charity dinner since he was a child with his father. Now, if Fred Trump was just a normal guy who built buildings in New Jersey, why on earth was he invited to the Al Smith charity dinner if he was a nobody? So I find that to be very odd.
Real quick, what is that charity dinner? I'm not totally fluent. I'm not hip with that.
So the Al Smith charity dinner, it's basically for the American elite to get together. It's a donation. It's people speak. It's basically just the who's who of American politics.
Like Baby Bilderberg, this U.S., I guess.
Yeah, it's American Illuminati. It's the Colombian Order. It's Skull and Bones. It's American politics. So the last Al Smith charity dinner, that was the famous speech where Trump openly bashed Hillary Clinton. And she was sitting there with some like Roman Catholic cardinal. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that was like basically all the show. And we'll get into that a little later. But one thing that I discovered about Mary Ann McLeod, which is Trump's mom, was that she was a member of the Colombian Order of New York. Now, his mother has Scottish roots and tied to Scottish Freemasonry. And Trump's Manhattan apartment, the way it's decorated, has Freemasonry all over it. And it's also decorated after Louis XIV, who was nobility.
Of course.
So anyway, the Colombian Order that Trump's mom was a member of is also known as the Colombian Illuminati. Now, in the book by David Rivera called History of the New World Order of Illuminism, he claimed that the American Illuminati was comprised of 4 major power groups, and it was American Freemasonry, Skull and Bones, Phi Beta Kappa, and the Colombian Order. Okay, the Colombian Order included the who's who of democratic politics. It influenced and shaped the views of people since the 1800s, and it basically just degenerated into this society full of New York power, greed, and backstab.
Wow.
So not just anybody could attend these meetings. So right off the bat, we can't pretend that Trump's parents were nobody. So you got his dad, who was in the Ku Klux Klan, and it's been recorded. And then you have his mother, ties to Scottish Freemasonry and part of this Columbian order. So this rags to riches story that they want us to believe that Trump's dad just was a nobody that started building skyscrapers in New Jersey. I mean, it's pretty much bullshit, right? And so it's easy to see that Donald Trump was born into this world and was destined to be on the world stage. Now, if you look at Trump's oldest brother, Fred, he died of alcoholism and he refused to join the family business. Now, ask yourself, what is so bad about real estate?
I'm the hand of Mona Lisa's skirt. I'm a surprise, Kevin. They don't see me coming. That's what you're missing. Where's the chicken?
What was the real family business? And I don't think people actually think about that. And not to mention Fred's daughter, Mary Trump, who was Donald Trump's first cousin, came out with a book. Can't think of the name of it, but she exposed the Trump family. And if the Trumps were genuinely good people, why would anyone come out with an expose like this? Granted, she made a lot of money, but so many people were Trump supporters that she probably would have made more money had she put out a positive book about Trump. Like, right. All the Trump people did not want to read this book. They bashed it. They bashed her. But in this book, she claimed that Trump was a womanizer. He made embarrassing comments about how big her boobs were at the time. I mean, this is your cousin. And the book goes into a lot of detail, and I'm going to reference this as I go on. But let's get into Donald Trump. And
real quick, I just want to touch back. Donald Trump, a womanizer? I don't see it. That's just me, though. I mean,
putting a wife to work is a very dangerous thing. I create stars. I love creating stars. I mean, I've really given a lot of women great opportunity. Unfortunately, after they're a star, the fun is over for me. It's like a creation process. It's almost like creating a building. It's pretty sick.
Yeah,
I can appreciate a good-looking dude. That ain't him, all right?
Totally out of character. So since he was young, Trump has been, and you guys know this, he's been on numerous TV shows, talk shows. And what was the question that he was always asked?
Are you going to run for president?
Mr. Trump, are you going to run for president?
I guess I didn't realize that, but yeah, it makes sense.
Every interview. And so he would toy with them by saying no, and he would give them his political 2 cents, and he looked handsome and young and charming, and everybody liked him. And to me, this was just predictive programming at its finest. Why would this random New Yorker who builds skyscrapers go on Phil Donahue? This is 1987. Who cares? Like, he was propped up for a reason.
The sleaziest shit, though. It's like construction. That's where the mob, mafia, money laundering, all that crap is. Yeah, he was balls deep in it.
100%.
Yeah, you're right. Like, that's a good point. Like, why him, right? There's tons and tons of guys who build skyscrapers or buildings and commercial real estate and stuff, but it's like he's the one, like you said, you've seen him on all these talk shows, and it was very, now looking back on it, it's very clear for whatever reason he was the chosen one at that time to play this role.
Absolutely. And not to mention, he attended Fordham, which is a Jesuit school.
Mm-hmm.
All of Donald Trump's children attended Jesuit Georgetown University, every single one of them, except for Barron. So it'll be interesting to see what Barron does in the future. But if you fast forward to the other interviews he did as he got older, he would toy with the media, talking badly about the Clintons. He would plant seeds by saying, like, if I were president, I would let everybody know who was behind 9/11. And then you had the famous Obama birth certificate situation where he's planting seeds about how Obama wasn't born in America, and kind of like a design, like from the 80s, so it's like he's telling the American people who he is, what he believes. And when he became president, nothing was exposed, none of it. Okay. So now I'm going to get into the crime family, because this is really important. when Donald Trump was young, he was heavily associated with the Gambino crime family of New York. He was friends with Robert Labuddy, who was an associate of the Gambino Mafia. He was also friends with Joey Sink, who was another Gambino associate. Joey Sink was a mobster, a con artist, and a felon who actually went to jail for stealing expensive art and was almost left for dead after being shot by a contract killing. But he didn't die. But you know what he did go on to do? He became one of Trump's judges in the Miss Universe pageant. Okay? That's what he did with his life. So if you go back and look at all of the judges from Miss Universe, many of them were Gambino associates.
Oh
this
my
is
God.
the American mafia. This is an extension of the black nobility, Italian mafias that came to America, came to New York, and met Donald Trump. And so in 1973, Donald Trump violated the Housing Act and engaged in illegal building activities that made it impossible for prospective tenants to purchase his property if you were black. Okay, this was on the news. Everybody has heard this story by now. So this is the same year that Trump met Roy Cohn, his lawyer. Okay, and they filed this countersuit against the government for over $100 million. And Donald Trump settled out of court and it went away. And Ray would go on to be Trump's right-hand man to get him out of all of these shady situations up until his time as president. Okay, so Roy Cohn was the lawyer for John Gotti, Tony Salerno, and Carmine Galante, all associated with the Gambino crime family. That's how Trump met him, okay? So Trump purchased property for his casinos from the mafia hitman Salvatore Testa. And it was the mafia who built Atlantic City and laundered their criminal profits through his casinos. And the Gambinos owned S&A Concrete, who were involved in constructing Trump's buildings in Manhattan. Okay. So now let's get into the Russian mafia. There's this guy by the name of Felix Sater. Felix Sater is a Russian mobster, and he pleaded guilty to over $40 million for stock fraud and money laundering orchestrated by the Russian mafia. Now, Felix Sater was an advisor for Trump Hotels Corporation. Donald Trump hired this guy to run his corporation at one point. Now,
real quick, I just want to say, people are going to be like, well, he's just associated with him. What, dude, birds of a feather flock together. You're around these people for a reason. You choose to be around these people. You choose that guy to be your lawyer. It's so, don't keep it open mind, people.
Yes. So, well, what's crazy was Felix Sater started his career at Bear Stearns with Jeffrey Epstein.
Of course he did.
Okay. So he ended up, I know, like you can't make this shit up.
And I'm pretty sure Bear Stearns is we won't even go down that road. Bear Stearns it's a government private corp. Like it might have been phony. It might have been completely phony, honestly. Yeah.
And it could have been, but the fact that it's like written into this narrative,
it's incredible.
It connects so many people. So, okay. So Felix Sater, the Russian mobster, ran Trump Hotels, started his career at Bear Stearns. And then when he left Trump Hotels, he left to manage the company Bayrock. Now, Bayrock is a private real estate investment company that specializes in luxury residences. Now, Bayrock, I want you guys to remember that name, Bayrock. Felix Sater is also a Chabad Orthodox Jew who went to the same synagogue as Jared Kushner and Ivanka. Okay, so we're going to see a lot of this Chabad Orthodox Jew stuff pop up throughout the rest of the podcast. But I want you guys to remember that, and I want you to remember Bayrock. Okay, so another business associate of Donald Trump is a guy named Tevfik Arif. Now, Tevfik Arif is the founder of Bayrock, okay? Trump convinced Tviv Arik to move Bayrock into Trump Tower. So he did. And it's at Trump Tower where this Tavik Arif met Felix Sater. And so that's why he hired this Felix guy to manage Bayrock. Now, Tavik is one of the biggest donors to the Chabad Jewish synagogue that Jared Kushner used to go to. Years later, he was charged with running a prostitution ring of young European women, including underage girls, off of Turkish yachts. So the guy that ran Bayrock was acquitted because the girls refused to testify against him. But to think,
I wonder why.
Yeah, but to think that Donald Trump did not know about any of this is just straight up denial. Like, you've got a guy working in Trump Tower who's running a prostitution ring, but Trump didn't know about it. Like, I just have such a hard time believing that.
This great businessman that's so involved in everything, and he knows all that's going on, but just missed that prostitution ring with little, young European girls running in and out of your hotel. Just missed it.
Just totally missed that one. Okay, so let's get into Jeffrey Epstein. So we know, this is where it gets really good, and we get into like Maria Farmer and all that. But okay, so we know that Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell used to frequent Mar-a-Lago a lot. Mm-hmm. We know that Trump has been photographed with both Epstein and Ghislaine a lot.
Well, they both live there, right? They both had houses there, right?
Yes,
they like almost neighbors in the same neighborhood or whatever.
Yeah, basically. And Trump was on record saying that Epstein was a great guy. And when Ghislaine was arrested, he said in a press conference that he wished her well.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why would anybody, especially the president of the United States, wish a human trafficker well? Like, there's no excuse for it. I don't care how much cognitive dissonance you have. Like, this is not acceptable, especially for a president.
How about the vaccine? I came up with the vaccine. They said it would take 3 to 5 years. Gonna save the world. I recommend you take it, but I also...
Whether it was awkward or inappropriate, like, it was just, in my mind, I'm like, I can't believe this guy said that. And a lot of people just blew it off, like, they
explained
nice.
It, yes, or it's tongue-in-cheek and things like that, or that's when they always talking in code, and it's like, stop.
Yeah.
Just stop.
I know,
Stop.
I can't. It's just straight up denial.
Yeah.
So then we have the testimony of Maria Farmer. Now, Maria Farmer is an American artist, and she was the first person to report an incident to the New York City police and the FBI about the abuse and misconduct of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, her sister Anne backed up all of her claims. And Maria Farmer was introduced to Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell through Eileen Guggenheim. Now, you've probably heard of the famous Guggenheim Museum in New York City, but the Guggenheim family are big in New York, and they are part of the Zionist mafia. Now, Guggenheim Partners is an investment firm that manages at least $300 billion in assets. That is reported. So the Guggenheims are related to the Jewish Rothschilds through marriage with the Stewart family. Now, the House of Stewart is from Scottish Freemasonry. They're a Scottish Freemason family. And the Jewish Guggenheims and the Roman Catholic Stewarts also covertly work with the Waltons of Walmart dynasty. And Arthur Stewart, the 8th Earl, is a British noble whose mother was a Guggenheim, and his grandmother was a Rothschild. I mean, these families are all connected. So to think that, like, the Guggenheims, like, it's just a lie. No, they're all connected. And so this is how Maria Farmer met Epstein, through the Guggenheims.
All of the above. All of the above. Who is Epstein? Epstein is the keystone of a whole motherfucking matrix. And once you pull it out, it all falls down.
So Maria Farmer supported Virginia Giuffre and her claims that Virginia was raped by Alan Dershowitz, if we remember. Alan Dershowitz.
Dersh was there too. That's right, we're dropping red pills every day. Dropping red pills in the best kind of way.
Who is always on the fucking news now too.
Yes. Okay, so Alan Dershowitz was reported to have visited Jeffrey Epstein's New York City apartment so many times. He's on film, he's on camera coming in and out of the building. Well, let's talk about Alan Dershowitz. He was the high-profile lawyer for Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, and Donald Trump. And he defended O.J. Simpson as part of the Dream Team with Johnny Cochran and Robert Kardashian.
Yep.
Dershowitz is also a member of the same Jewish Shabbat synagogue as Jared and Ivanka. Okay? These are patterns. These people are all part of the same circle, the same. You keep seeing the same names pop up in the same synagogue in New York City. Okay? So Maria Farmer also reported, now this is where it gets crazy. Maria Farmer also reported that Trump's first wife, Ivana, was friends with Ghislaine, and Ivana helped procure underage girls for her. Okay, so this was reported by Maria Farmer.
Like they would go to high schools and stuff like that, like bringing flowers and all that crap. I read those stories.
Yes. So if Ivana Trump was complicit in human trafficking while she was married to Donald Trump, what does that say about Donald Trump? Right?
Even him whose coming is after the workings of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. And for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness.